Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Sonia Siddiqui and joining us again today is Sweta Regmi. Hi Sweta.
Hi Sonia, how are you?
I am great. So Sweta has come back to do this webinar. I know there's a huge group signed up today, so we're really excited to bring you this presentation. But before I hand it over to Sweta, I'm just going to make sure that everyone's properly connected. So please note that you are all in listen only mode, so we won't be able to hear you. If you'd like to ask questions after the presentation, please type them into the Q&A tab and Sweta will answer your questions then. For best results, please use a laptop or a desktop computer using Google Chrome as your browser. If you are using mobile devices such as cell phones or tablets, I recommend downloading the Zoom app. Thank you. And just to tell you a little bit about ACCES, we've been around for over 30 years helping job seekers such as yourselves. Just in the past year alone, we were able to serve 34,000 job seekers. We work with over 2,200 employers. We have over 30 tailored programs, which include our sector-specific bridging programs and our pre-arrival programs for people who are still overseas with their PRs and are moving to Canada soon. We've got 7 locations in the GTA, and right now our main location is online, and online services host webinars every month, and there's tons of resources online that you can access as well. So before I hand it over to Shweta, well, Shweta, do you want to say anything before I start the presentation?
Yeah, just like I'll take 30 seconds just to introduce myself. It would be on a video as well. So hi everyone, my name is Sweta Regmi, and well, welcome to Canada if you're already in Canada, or if you're planning to come to the Canada. It's a beautiful country, I can guarantee you that much. I was an immigrant. I immigrated 20 years ago. So it's beautiful. I have become someone else now, and you know, I was on the same shoes like 20 years ago, just like you. Don't get frustrated. There's one step at a time. Just understand everything about Canada before you land, and we can go from there. So we'll go with the slide, and if you have any questions, we can tackle it at the end of the presentation. Go for it, Sonia.
Awesome. Gonna play it now.
Hi everyone, my name is Sweta Regmi, founder and CEO for Teach and Do. I work as a career consultant. You can follow me at LinkedIn for any advice related with the career tips and job search strategy. What we do at Teach and Do is we teach you customized job search strategy. If you recently landed in Canada or you're a job seeker in Canada for years, we can help you by building a personal brand, by teaching you how to write the resume and beat those ATS system and please the hiring managers. We can teach you how do you do the effective networking. We can also teach you all customized job search strategy you've not learned before. Today I'll go over, if you're landing in Canada, what you should do before you land and after you land as well. Let's begin with the slide. So, you know that we do interview coaching, personal branding. We teach you how to write the resume and cover letter, LinkedIn optimizations, and everything that it's needed for job search strategy. We also have YouTube channel for job seekers where they can learn all those bunch of things for free. Please go ahead and subscribe. So I am from the corporate world. I used to be a hiring manager for 13 years, and I worked in the company like ING Direct, TD Bank, and Tangerine, which is now owned by Scotiabank. I have a corporate experience of more than 19 years. I also have a nonprofit experience from YMCA as a job developer, where I closely work with the job seekers in Canada. I am also in a help desk committee for job seekers in non-resident community in Canada. I've been also invited as a guest speaker at Centennial College in classes, one of the top podcasts for a Canadian entrepreneur, Canada's podcast. I've also been invited as a guest speaker in OS Nepal News, who has 5.2 million followers. I am also a member of Career Professionals of Canada. Before you move to the city in Canada, you got to find out where is it that you wanted to land. You want to strategize your strategy when it comes to landing in Canada. There are a bunch of cities, bigger cities and smaller cities. Bigger cities has their own competition, so you need to look at very carefully what are the jobs out there, the hot jobs, what are the public transit system like, if the grocery stores are easily accessible. The shops and schools and banks and all those services are the must visit list on your item. For those people who are moving with the family, you want to make sure that you find the good school and it's easily accessible. Think about it. You'll be working later on, that those commute to drive your kids back and forth to the school might be a conflict with your working schedule. So here in Canada, school provides the bus, but it depends on the distance where you live in and also on the grade level as well and the safety of where you're living in as well. So check with schools to find out where do you stand. Do you get the bus or not? Once you narrow down the city, then you move on to the next step. Now, before you move in, obviously, you're going to have to organize all those documentations, immigrations, documentations, and passport. These are no-brainer. Educational transcripts for all members. And if you want to bring in photocopy as well, make sure those are certified. And immunization records for kids and yourself are the must, especially for the kids, for those people who are going to school, because they will look into those records, and without having a proper immunization record, school would not be accepting the admission at all. The other thing is, you got to find out how much you can bring in Canada. The money orders, drafts, travel checks, gold coins, anything related with the financial item must be declared. If it's over 10K, which is 10,000, it has to be declared with the source and a proof. And find out if there are other things, key piece that you want to bring into the Canada, and it depends on certain country. Certain countries would have restrictions of the dollar amount that you're given per passport. So there are countries who only limit $2,000 per person. Now, find out how much you can bring in from your own country as well. And if you can't bring in more than what you want to, then you do have approximately 3 years to import those money later on, but you still have to declare it and then provide the proof that you faced the restriction in the past. Check CBSA website for more details on this. Now, it's no-brainer. It depends on where you want to land. If you're landing in the city like Toronto, then obviously it's going to be very, very cold, and you can't avoid the cold at all. So you want to ensure that you have good items to protect yourself. And buying a winter boots and winter clothing here in Canada is really, really expensive. So the jacket could range from $200 to $1,000. Winter boots could range from $100 to $5,000. It depends on the brand and quality as well, but things are expensive when you're buying on that particular the season. So you want to ensure that before you go around and start buying in Canada, see what you got in back home, and maybe it's cheaper there. Make sure you buy the winter boots, not, just with it depends on what kind of winter boots are you wearing, but make sure you have a good grips on it, because the roads are potentially very icy, and especially when you're the one who's landing in Canada, you would probably not drive a car right away. You would be walking a lot to take a transit or a bus. Ensure that you have a good grips on those as well. And you want to research on your travel, inform the airlines if you have any medical or any issues related with your restrictions, and airlines are more than happy to provide you that service, depending on, they might charge you extra fee as well. Just follow through their protocol on it. And if layover is long, sometimes there are some restrictions in airport that if you're staying in airport for more than a couple of hours, then you must have a visit visa. You must have a transit visa on it, and you do have an option to go out of the airport as well. But the understanding is you're checking out and you're checking in again. So it's all over going through the security path again. So ensure that you understand the process before you actually reach into the airport. Those are the homework you must do. And the weight allowance as well. Anytime you have higher than what is demanded on your suitcase, that means you're paying extra per pound. So it's really, really heavy expenses you're bearing. Unless you want to bring it, but it's not worth it to pay for extra weight unless you want to. Now, dairy, meat products, and seeds and other plants are strictly not allowed in Canada. And if you bring it, then there might be penalty and fine. Check it online, what's allowed and what's not allowed. And pack everything yourself. And you might have some people giving you something to take it away for their families, loved one. But I would highly recommend you to open it in front of them and see what's in there, and be very comfortable carrying it, because you are responsible for what you bring in Canada. Medical records are really, really mandatory and crucial to make sure that you support your medicine with the prescription drugs. And there could be prescription drugs that's probably not allowed in certain airlines. So ensure that you check it, and you always have those prescription paper with you, so it validates that you are with your name. So it validates that it's for you. With the doctor's note as well is kind of mandatory for people who are bringing the machine with them, such as snoring machine is one of them. Make your doctor write it that you need it, and it's for you, and it should clearly display your name as well. So snoring machine would have to have a water in there. So for those of you who are watching who use the snoring machine, you potentially are allowed to travel with that water in it, as long as your doctors are comfortable. But again, it depends on the airport security if they allow it or not, but have those documents handy to show it to them. So the vaccination record should be kept up to date for your kids as well. Again, it's really crucial for you if you have kids, because the schools require you to have those vaccinations, and it needs to be up to date. And kids' immunizations, vaccination records must be up to date before they can be enrolled in the school. It's not after. Before they're enrolled, it needs to be up to date. There are programs that's offered by government, which is funded by government, pre-arrival program for looking at the transportations or any information you want. You can visit the website such as settlement.org, next.canada, and they do have different languages. They offer as well ACCES employment pre-arrival program as well. Now, let's go back to the job search strategy. So before you land in Canada, you have to have that strategy together, which is targeting the companies, which is 15 to 20 companies that's your dream company and you want to work for, and see what's out there. Is your job on hot jobs list, or is it rarely found? See how many postings are there, and most of the job does it require the certifications? Especially with the trade skills, you need to have those certifications and all those classes that needs to be done within the Canada or online in order to qualify for the role itself. So make sure you know what are the criteria to get certifications within Canada. So sign up for webinars, which are free. There are a couple of webinars that it comes in all the time through the nonprofit agency. Look through it. Check the LinkedIn content by the career coaches and see how to land a job in Canada. They have amazing content. I do write the content as well every day. Those are free. Feel free to follow me and find out the career tips from there, and also follow the LinkedIn page, Teach and Do, and we offer a lot of classes link when it comes to free webinars, free courses, and whatnot. So you can also join the groups as well, which is in Canada, specifically targeting to your industry, so you can talk to the people in Canada. You don't have to wait to come in here to join those groups. You can participate on that group. Research in Glassdoor and Indeed just to find out what the companies are saying. Look at the reviews and whatnot. Usually the perks and what people are saying, and the interview questions and answer all those things. Make yourself, just make sure that you understand the process of hiring in Canada as well, and see where do you stand when it comes to salary. Last thing you want to know, last thing you want to do is you have no idea what your market rate is, because it would be completely different from where you're coming from. So take a look at it on payskill.com or salary.com, and also build your personal brand, because personal branding takes a lot of time. It's not instant. It takes a time anywhere from 3 months to 1 year, depending on what career you want. So you start to build a personal brand online, let the people know that who are you and what people will think about you when you're not there. Start networking in the right way, not by asking a job, but trying to get to know people in Canada, especially the job seekers, especially for job seekers who are looking to get into the specific market, target the right company, target the right decision maker. Familiarize that, make sure that you understand the job search strategies. You can also visit the blogs on teachingdo.com for a free tutorial. So understand the Canadian style of resume. I work with a lot of immigrants, and I see there's something that they miss is it's not going to be the same style of resume that you've written back home. There are so many things that there do's and don't when it comes to writing your own resume. Take a look at it on our website, and you will find out more about resume writing style in Canada. So we also recommend you to practice the interview. It might be different than what you're used to. Most company practice the behavioral questions and case study and potentially the presentation style of interview, so make sure you're aware of it. And also for those people who are on a digital world, who are looking to go back to the digital world, make sure you have a digital portfolio handy so you can send it to the people while networking. So also the next thing is you want to research on bank accounts. So bank have promotional programs for a newcomer before coming to the Canada, unless you have to have an approved immigration paper. So some features that we've seen that big banks are offering is you can also open an account overseas. So that way you can wire transfer up to 50,000 if you need to. Then they will provide you the source of income as well when you land in Canada. So you can take a look into it. You can apply for the credit card right away if you have couple of products with them, so there's no wait period. You can also have no checking account fees for a certain amount of years, and safety deposit box free or month. So safety deposit box, it could potentially range from small, large, and medium safety deposit box, depending on what you're bringing. And I know that people from outside, obviously, they will bring in the gold and their necklaces, their rings, and whatever it is. So those are valuable items. So it's good to have those safety deposit box at the bank until you settle down. So, and then if it comes with the promotion, why not, right? So stay away from service fees and annual fees in the credit card. Researching is the best way to do. There are a lot of banks out there, they charge service fee, but there are a couple of banks, they do not charge a service fee, and there's no annual fees on the credit card as well. So you can also open the online account. There's no branches in some of the bank, and they are usually good at not charging the service fee and not charging you the minimum balance requirement at all. So some of the bank that stands out are Tangerine, Simply, and all those banks, it's listed on it. So feel free to research and see and compare what's your best option. Canada has access to the basic banking right. You have to know your rights. So for example, nobody can refuse to open the account for you. There's a basic banking, and nobody can refuse to cash your government check, certain government check. There's a limitations. Just make sure you know what are your rights on it. Unless there is some safety issues or some issues with you, no banks can refuse you not to open an account. So know what's your right. If you are refused by whatever means, they need to provide their letter of refusal in person, the letter, so that way you can take it with you. These are the 5 big banks of Canada: Royal Bank, Scotiabank, TD, Bank of Montreal, and CIBC. Normally, when you're opening the account, you have to make an appointment to open new accounts, and there's walk-in services that are very, very rare. Unless they're not busy, you can certainly do that, but we always recommend you to call them, book an appointment, and walk in to avoid any delay or back and forth. Most of them, top big banks, they offer, they have a staff, they can speak different languages, and you can ask for it too, especially in the call center as well. They are more than happy to transfer the call to someone who can speak your language. That's the best part about living in Canada. We love diversity, and we practice as well. So when you're opening the account, the ID verification is the must, and it depends on the process of different bank, but the majority of them, they ask for photo ID, SIN card, the immigration paper. Unless you're in Quebec, health card is not a piece of ID. So make sure you understand the process of ID, and that's really crucial. When you land right away, you need to ensure that you have a proper piece of ID, because you will take that everywhere, every time. Even when you have a job, you know, certain companies would potentially ask for IDs and all those. SIN card is the must as well. You need to apply for it. You can't work in a company unless you don't have a SIN card. So you would be issued SIN card, and that's really, really important for you to actually apply for it right away. Those are crucial. And you can also check ID verification process in the link below. Some of the cost, approximately based on 2 family, would be 1 bedroom would potentially range from 1 bedroom apartment or basement would be range from, it's 1,000 to 1,500. Utilities, we're looking at 100 plus, which is water, heat, and hydro. Cell phone, we're looking at 150. Telephone, we're looking at 50. Groceries, we're looking at 100 a week, family of 2. Transit and subway, we're looking at 120 per month per adult, and discounts for students and seniors, and you have to produce the ID for that. Miscellaneous expenses, you know, gift, whatever it is, it would be potentially 100 or more. Well, you're looking at 2,000 per month for surviving in Canada. If you're just landing, or that's a must, you cannot avoid those costs at all. Unless you're living with family member and you don't have to pay the rent, then you can save money on the rent, which is a huge deal. So international driver's license, probably take a look at it, because Canada has a graduated driver's license system for new drivers, G1, G2, and G. And experienced drivers can have advantage, so there's no test required. So certain countries have direct exchange for licenses. Driver's permit, IDP, is valid in Canada. You can check in your country to get one. Not in Canada, you have to check in before you land to convert it. So the following countries so far, it's under the exchange agreement with Canada, where you can directly exchange the license depending on where you fit without going over the testing, and it solely depends on the people who are issuing at the counter. So it would be those countries: United States of America, Australia, Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Ireland, Japan, South Korea, and New Zealand, Switzerland, Taiwan, United Kingdom. Those are what's the difference between G1, G2, and G. Most G1s are, there are certain restrictions on it. Take a look at it, and you can always go back to the slide later on to take a look at it. So basically, G1 is a learner license. You get it after you write the test. The first step is to write the test and be able to drive. And the major difference in G1 is not having the blood alcohol level at all. That's a major difference, and you can take a look at the difference in here. You cannot drive on certain highways, and there are maybe you have to make sure that for the first 6 months between midnight and 5 a.m. you do not have a fully licensed driver in a car. Then you're only allowed to have one passenger who is 19 years old or under. After that, you're allowed up to 3. So now those restrictions do not apply to immediate family members. So you cannot. So when it comes to G2, that's what it is, the major difference. It's normally for 19 and under, and you cannot operate a vehicle with any alcohol level at all in your blood. And everyone should be wearing a functional seat belt, which is technically, you gotta watch. Who are you carrying on your car. So the G license has no restrictions, but there is a restrictions with the blood level, the alcohol level. But as long as it's under the legal requirement, you're fine with it. But pretty much G is very experienced driver. You can drive anywhere. So pack these items in your carry-on luggage. The way that it works is always have a spare item. The airports are cold, and inside plane as well, it's cold. You might not think that it probably is summer, but inside it's pretty cold. And pack the prescription medicine and doctor's note on your carry-on luggage as well. Liquid in the clear bottle, less than 100 ml as per international standard, and closed lid in transparent bottle possibly. And also all legal documents, your travel details, toothpaste, toothbrush, shaving razors, items of personal hygiene. The reason is flight might be delayed, whatever it is, so you don't want to, you want to look fresh, so you want to ensure that if your luggage is lost or something, then you have some immediate needs to be covered. And there are things to do after landing in Canada. So check the information that you are given at airport. There would be the informations about where to go and apply for the SIM card and everything right after you land, health card informations and driver's license and whatnot. Don't throw that away. Check it in there. Open bank account. Check newcomers promotions online before even landing. Ensure that you have temporary health insurance. Ontario Health Insurance Program starts on 90th day only. You're not covered until you have the health card. So ensure that you have your temporary insurance as well. For newcomer services, you can go and visit online at cic.gc.ca/English newcomer services. So here you go, the life begins now. So new rental requires normally the lease agreement and guarantor. They potentially want the guarantor as well because you would not have a credit score in Canada income. And normally the guarantors are immediate family members. Just work it out and find out if you want to go and lease the apartment because you have to have a credit score and income. If not, then you can go and ask for guarantor, the immediate family member. It obviously depends on the rental apartment if they're willing to do that. Talk to your family and friends for referral. Online group buy and sell on a Facebook, KGG. But then be aware of frauds. Never send money before you actually sign up a contract and look at those, the apartment or whatever it is. So that way you know what you're getting into. If it looks to be too good to be true, then it is probably it's not. It's a scam. So make sure you're aware of it. And there, when you're applying for rental apartment, there are some fees. Be cautious where you apply if you really want to rent it or not. Those fees are normally non-refundable. And if you're bringing valuable goods in Canada, if you don't have a safety deposit, it's advisable for you to get the renter's insurance as well from the insurance company. That way, if something is lost or something is stolen, then that way your items are protected. Ensure that you take a picture of each item as well, because in the event that it's stolen or it's lost, then they would want the receipt, and they would also want, the insurance company would want the receipt of those items and on the pictures as well. So start applying for daycare for those people who have a family. So there would be wait list, and for those low-income people, you would have a government subsidies available as well. So the credit scores in Canada is really, really a must. So whatever you're dealing with it, from renting the apartment versus working in some kind of company, there is a requirement to have a good credit score. Credit scores are really, really crucial for anything, to get a house, to buy a house, to get a house, to get the car, whatever it is. And also, if you are targeting banking company to work for, you need to make sure that you have a credit score, but not only the credit score, you have a good credit score. Those are the guidelines when it comes to the credit score, and you can also audit your credit score for free on borrowwell.com and Credit Karma or TransUnion and Equifax for once a year report. So 800 to 900 is somewhere where you're excellent, and 720 to 799 is very good. 650 to 719 is good. 600 to 649 is fair. 300 to 599 is very poor, so you need to work on it. The best way to ensure that you have excellent credit is to ensure that you do not max out on the card. You only use approximately 65% of your credit limit. So example, if you have $1,000 credit limit, just use a 65% of that only to ensure that you don't max. It doesn't look like you're desperate, your household income is running on the credits. And also pay in time before. Just because you pay in time, minimum amount, that does not mean that credit would be good, but ensure that you pay it off without carrying it forward, paying the interest. And there are like a lot of things, which is you don't want to apply for all the credit cards out there. Just have a couple of strong credit card on it. That way you keep on using the same card over and over and you build a credit, because as soon as you have so many credit cards everywhere open, that means your risk to the bank, because you can rack it up anytime you want to. So that's why you have to ensure that you are very strategic on applying for the credit card. So why I suggest personally is you can apply for one credit card to start with, which would be with your bank. And if it's a Visa, then apply for next credit card, look for MasterCard and next Amex, right? So not having Visa, 3 Visas, but have it different, because certain store would only in certain store it's only Visa card that they accept, or certain store they only accept the MasterCard. So that way you have that, and also trying to make sure that what's a benefit for you to apply those cards, right? So applying just because they don't have a fees or it's too good to be true, that does not mean that you have to apply. There's a risk as well. So here's some fact about the Canadian, this is what we're talking about when it comes to Canadian culture. When people are dealing with the rejection about no Canadian experience, we're not looking at no Canadian experience in the resume, but it's more than that, which is understand what we stand for, understand what's out here. So paper bills, if you're the one who wants to go into the banking industry, you need to understand how many bundles of 5 would be on one bundles, or how many bundles of $10 would be on one bundles, right? Like you got to calculate the cash, and you got to know all about cash as well, and make sure you understand there's like what kind of bills are involved, what kind of bills you can potentially get when you exchange. So in public, I know that a lot of people outside of Canada, I know that I personally is something that I have lived up to as well. Back home is there's no line system. People are just going off and on with that by breaking the line. And if people, they just go and bypass the line. It's no in Canada. So you must make sure that you meet the requirement of staying in line and wait patiently. It's always about first come, first serve. Unless you're not called, please do not go there. That's considered very, very rude. And some people have a number system as well, especially in government. You'd have to take the number, and they will call the number, and you just go, and then that's your turn. So before helping people with a disability, just ensure that you ask or ensure that they are okay with it. Just because you see someone in wheelchair, that does not mean that the person would need your help, because it's completely unfair to the people that they're already going through the trauma of being disabled. But you got to ensure that you respect them, and only help when they ask you, or when you know clearly that they need help. And the other thing that you want to be very careful on is don't touch the service dogs. So dogs are trained for visually impaired person. They accompany them everywhere. So ensure that you don't talk, you don't play with the dog. Those are not for playing. Those are specially trained dogs for blind people. So that way you stay away from dealing with the dogs directly. You still talk to the owner of the dog, look to them, and then service them or talk to them directly. So for transportations, there are buses, subway, taxi, and Uber. Don't forget to take transfer when switching to route. So that would save you that would save you a lot of money. To transfer, you just have to go when you get on the bus. You just have to ask the driver, transfer, please. They will give you the ticket. So that transfer is usually valid for certain hours. You should be using it if you're going through the same route. Be sure to check that. Use please and thank you always to be polite. Hold the door for a person behind you unless there's a security protocol, because in certain apartment or office there's a protocol to follow, because everyone has to key in and buzz in before someone opens the door. Because it has happened to me before, was I used to live in condo, but then my item got stolen just because someone actually let the stranger in without keying in, and that's how the break-in and security breach happens. Even in office as well, when you're swiping the pass, don't be nice. nice. It's sometimes, you're being nice, but you're costing your job sometime as well. So follow the security process. Let them scan their pass or key directly instead of holding the door for them. So say pardon me. These are the things that it's no-brainer, but at the same time we're used to certain things, saying things differently, which is say pardon me instead of saying sorry or excuse me or what, because pardon me sounds polite, and that's the way that you would take part in communications. Respect diversity. Canada is huge in diversity. You will see people like you all the time. Respect what they follow. If it's something that is bothering you, keep it to yourself, because that's your culture. Everyone is different. You just got to accept the diversity. Whether you're in workplace, whether you're walking into the street or you're being served, everyone deserves the respect. Know about the couple of things you can do is know about the culture with the Canada. What do you do in Canada Day? Why we celebrate that? Know about Halloween, because sometimes when I'm dealing with the clients, recently immigrated clients, when I'm teaching them about all those things, if you're celebrating Halloween, you don't have to celebrate everything, but try to understand that as well, so that way when you're talking to the other person, it doesn't look like you're left out of the conversation, so you add value on it, because that happens a lot in corporate world, in workplace. They all talk about, oh, what are you going to do for Canada Day? Then, what are you going to be doing in Halloween? Who are you going to be in Halloween? Then you don't want to look like you don't know what they're talking about, because that's a pep talk. You're going to have to get used to it. And Thanksgiving as well. So people would ask you, what do you do on Thanksgiving Day? So whether you celebrate or not, doesn't matter, but try to understand the culture to fit in as well, to understand, because now you're in Canada. Understand and respect that, even if you don't celebrate it. Those are going to be office talk or wherever you go and networking, if that happens during that time frame. Even Christmas and Boxing Day, people talk about it, participate on the conversations. Otherwise, you would not feel that you would belong in certain communities, certain groups, so you have to get used to it. When I immigrated to Canada 20 years ago, I used to watch a lot of shows that would tell me about the Canadian culture, or like the culture, how people celebrate Halloween, Thanksgiving and everything. Try to watch those TV channel and you will learn a lot. And also the language barrier as well. It would be harder to understand because of accent. You want to ensure that you understand it, and the way that you would master it, or you would learn a lot, is by watching TV and news within the local community. That way you know what's going around your surrounding. So a little bit about schools. For those people who have kids, school year starts in first week of September and ends at the end of June. Kids are off school in July and August. That's the summer. So for those people who are going back to the workforce, it's coming. So arrange the summer daycare, and there are after school daycare as well provided to the parents. Find out with the school. Also, school range from kindergarten to grade 12, and then preschools are 2 to 5. Normally people government funded school are starting after 5, so that way, it's certain age you have to go to school by, which starts at 5 when your kids are 5 years old, and the way that it works is when you're between 6 to 11, grade 1 to 6. When you're between 12 to 14, you should have been at 7 to 9, and 15 to 18, 10 to 12. That's the way it works. And 18th year students start their university in September. And at age 14, kids can start volunteering and start working part-time, as long as it is not within their school hours. Daycare services will be available for kids whose parents are working. Apply as early as possible, because a lot of families will be on a wait list. So Canada has provincial healthcare system, and it's funded by government. So depending on the province, there's a wait time. In Ontario, 89 days that your health card kicks in. You need the health card to visit your doctor all the time, a hospital or specialist. And certain prescription drugs are not covered by OHIP programs. So you would have a work insurance, and that would potentially cover it. Dental part are not covered normally with OHIP. and you got to check with the work if you have insurance or from your spouse's work, it would cover. Most of the pregnancy tests are covered within the OHIP program. And one best part about Canada is if you met the hours of the requirement of going into the EI services, which is employment insurance that you paid when you're working between 420 to 700 hours. As a working mom, you get 65% of the salary, approximately up to 18 months, spread it out for when you're on maternity leave, and that's the best perk in Canada. You can start from 12 months to 18 months, and you can start, like in your hubby can take it, your partner can take it, and divide it between you two as well. So you got to make sure that we are huge on volunteering, and volunteering is best way to build the network and get a Canadian experience. But most of the volunteering work, they require the references. Make sure you have up-to-date references from back home or whatever it is, and it's going to be helpful for you as well if you want to go to the workforce later on. And some of the nonprofit agency, if you want to volunteer with them, they need the references plus the police report as well, which you have to pay for it as well to get it. And if the employers, they like your performance, they might hire you. There's no guarantee, but it's worth trying for volunteering and also getting that Canadian experience barrier over with it on a resume. Even if the case that employers do not have opportunity, it gives you exposure anyway. So you might create the professional network for life as well. So you can check the blog on teachingdo.com for networking scripts. So taxes, and I'm not going to go through it at just a high level. You can take a look at the slide on it to understand it. Those are some numbers in for you, like, how does the tax work in Canada? Normally with the people who have higher salary, they pay more. So it's the taxes are from 15% to 26% for federal and 5% to 13% for provincial income tax. Those are deducted normally on your paycheck right away by employer. For people who are working in a corporate world or anywhere, unless you're self-employed, then you pay tax a different way. Everyone is supposed to file the taxes. Doesn't matter how old are you. Like, after 18 years old, you have to file the taxes, even though you don't have an income. Deadline is usually April 30th. And each family receives a Canada Universal Child Benefit every month, depending on the family income. Filed an income tax $100 per month for a child who are lesser than 6 years old. And family with a lower income may qualify for subsidy program for everything, childcare, lessons, summer camp, and anything like that, or even the daycare subsidy. You need to ensure that whenever you file the taxes, you keep the copy of that notice of assessment. You get it from the government after filing taxes. It shows the income that you earned last year. That's really crucial. Do not destroy it. You need that for income verification for everywhere, and sometimes for ID verifications as well, for proof of address as well. You can also get those electronic NOAs online, just the way when you click on that link, when you look at that link, you can sign in just the way that you sign in with the bank. Certain banks, the majority of the banks are partner with CRA, and you can sign in just the way that you sign in at the bank, and you get all those electronic documents from CRA directly on your inbox. So learn about Canadian lingo. So Canadians tend to say oh, good weather, so ensure that you understand what does A mean. It means nothing, but it's just like, getting the confirmations or pardon or would you agree kind of thing. Tim Hortons is also known as Timmy's, and some people would say, I'm going to Timmy's, do you want something? So it's Tim Hortons they're going to. And when you're in Tim Hortons, normally people would ask what kind of coffee you like, double, or triple, or single. Those are the word that you would be using it in Tim Hortons. So double is 2 creams and 2 sugar, triple, 3 creams and 3 sugars, And Timbits is something original donut hole made by the famous Canadian coffee house Tim's. So it's really, really small, tiny, sweet delicacies that Canadians love it. And $1, it's not a dollar bill, but it's called loonie, and $2 are known as toonie, quarter 25 cents, dimes 10 cents, nickel 5 cents, pennies 1 cent. And then we round the cents to the closest dollar amount. So, for example, if it's $1.06, you pay $1.05. The pennies are being phased out, so we don't know when it's going to go, but it's been phased out. But banks are still accepting that. call everyone by their first name except their, the title doctor or Reverend, but like no sir, no madam at all. And toilet in Canada is, washroom is a toilet in Canada. There's no loo. No one will understand that. It's a washroom in Canada, whereas people coming from States, it's a restroom in States. So toque, a type of knit hat with no, it's huge. Canadian use that lingo. Toque is some kind of like, winter hat, and that people put it in. And clicks is kilometers in the car. That's how they talk. Giver is something that it's like, okay, giver, so it's a lingo that if anything needs to be done, then giver, go do it kind of thing. Those are lingo, some of the lingo that you want to be learning on, because these are the lingo that you'd be potentially using from day one when you land in Canada. Some people, when you're talking, you need to understand what, if you're on the same page. And if you don't know something, there's, don't assume that you know it. Ask them. There's nothing wrong with asking. So the job search strategy plan is obviously when you land in, you've done all the homework by now, you've targeted the company. Now it's time for you to target decision maker and target those. Join groups in person and virtual as well. And you got to make sure that you have a personal branding strategy built up already before you land. So that way it's not like, you don't have to start from scratch. By this time, you probably would have shared something online. People know you by now, what kind of market you're looking for, what's your niche. Ensure that you have that from day one before even landing. And write if you want to write, and let the people know that, who are you. So that way you're getting exposure to all those people out here in Canada as well. So know your future colleagues or boss and get to know them by visiting their profile, looking at it, what they do and how long they've been working there for, how did they get promoted, were they immigrant like you, and reach out for information interview. So you can check how do you create the winning LinkedIn profile on blog at teachandou.com. There's a free tutorial. No applicant tracking system do's and don't, and it's on a teachandou.com as well, free tutorial right there. And interview preparation as well. That's completely something that you're going to have to practice it. If you're not used to going through the behavioral case study and presentation skills, practice it. Network the right way. Check out the sample. We have a sample script at our blog at teachandou.com. So one of the sample that I'll leave you with is the right way to network is never asking for a job, but trying to find out how you can help them and what you bring in. So it's going to take a time. You have to practice it, what works within the industry you have. And this is the example that we have that, when people use these kind of networking strategies, they usually land the job. And then take a look at it. I'll just, leave it there. So the networking strategy in Canada is no one likes to be approached, and but we don't know you, but why would I refer you, right? So you got to build a relationship. So you got to ensure that you engage with them and try to understand what they do and seek further information before you actually go and ask them for a referral or a job, because you don't know them at all and they don't know you, right? So make multiple deposit before withdrawals. Focus on a long-term relationship, because you never know what kind of people they're looking in future. That's why targeting the right people is the key, and nurturing that relationship is the key. That's the protocol when it comes to networking. Never ask for a job or send resume without seeing job descriptions, because that resume has to be customized. And then also seek the permission before you send out the resume. Only send it out when they want you to send it out. Information interview is the must. Ask the right questions and try to build a relationship, and ask something like, what's your pain point? What would you do differently in the scenario? What are the challenges you're dealing with it on your current role? And is there a way that I can help you? There are so many questions that you can follow through when it comes to information interviews. We teach all those on the job search strategy. You can reach out if you want the customized job search strategy under teachandou.com under Contact Us.
Thank you, Shweta. I guess we'll take some questions now.
Okay.
I'm just going to, here we go. All right, so everyone, you can start typing your questions into the Q&A tab. You probably see that at the bottom of your screen. And I will leave this slide up for you to look at. So the first question here is, oh, thank you. There's already a lot of questions here. The first question here is, I'm 30 years old from London. I have a 2-year open work permit for anywhere in Canada. How can I get, oh, so if this is about finding a job before coming to Canada, I don't know if we can speak to that. Shweta, do you have any insight on that?
No, I mean, like, it's just the part of networking. So Sonia, I can take a question from here, whatever I can answer, so that way you don't have to repeat it, okay? I can see it and I can take it from here, okay?
Sure, just read it out loud and then we'll take it.
Okay, you guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So any questions related with the immigrations and everything, I'm not going to touch on it because I am definitely not a subject matter expert. Even though I've immigrated, I just have a vague idea about it, but I'm no expert. You need license for that. I don't have a license for that, so I'm not going to touch it. When it comes to job hunting, it's same whether you leave it outside or within Canada. If you are landing in Canada, if you've already landed, it's much better than when you're networking outside. The reason being is your address on the resume does not reflect Canadian address. So that's you're going to be, filtered out through the applicant tracking system. So unless you have very good networking skills, it could happen. I'm not going to say, well, you need to be in Canada to find the job. There's been instances that people are getting job, but again, it's not a norm. People are struggling here, but employers are looking for someone who's already in the country. It's easy to find that job unless you are someone who is actually on that category of hot jobs, and there's a shortage in Canada for the type of labor that we want, and maybe that's an approach. I think I saw some questions about, Jaspreet says, how much cash can one person bring to Canada? You can bring anything, to be honest, but again, for those, you have to declare anything over 10,000, you have to declare it, and you have to show the proof of income as well. Check online as well on that CBSA website, and they will just let you know in there. But make sure you have proof from the source. So Benita says, could you please share a few tips about building brand in business development area? You can follow my LinkedIn, and you know what, I talk about those branding, personal branding and everything during my LinkedIn Live. There are a bunch of informations on LinkedIn. It's all about, targeting your niche. And when you say business development, there are so many things underneath that table, right? So you got to niche it down. What are you good at within that business development, right? So you got to identify what are you good at, what's your niche, and then, go and start building a brand from the content writing by reaching out to the right people, right? Targeting the right people. And there's a targeted content writing and everything that we teach people as well, job seeker as well. So Deborati said, just to be clear, while landing, can I show bank statement from USA Bank? I am not an expert on it, but again, I'm thinking, yes, why not? Because it's a source, right? But again, just have a proof where the money came from. Again, that's not me. That's out of scope for me. I'm just speaking based on the experience because I landed from US as well. So Shajia says, right now in COVID, we don't know when we can come to Canada, so we can get jobs from home country. If we have PR, is there legal issues? Again, it totally depends on the company. If they're, again, I've already answered the questions in front, very beginning. Depends on what kind of labor, what kind of jobs you're looking for. If you're on that hot jobs pool, then, maybe employers going to approach you, but I've rarely seen people are getting offer when they're there. It's much easier when you're networking. I definitely want you to network and reach out to the hiring manager by the time you build your personal branding and everything. So when you land, everything is good to go. All you're doing is targeting the decision maker because you have everything good to go. Last thing you want to do is you land and then, you start doing everything because it definitely takes, how do you write the resume, how to reach out to the people. You need to know the right strategies, right? So we're not taught in school or colleges. You might have done MBA program. You might be talented like crazy, but no one teaches you the strategy within the school. That's why people are struggling to find the right kind of job because you need to know, and that takes time. It's not going to be instant result. Tarun says, do you know if credit scores from US are relevant in Canada? I have been living in US. Absolutely. I was from US as well. So you have to let the underwriting team know. So here's what's going to happen. Some folks, the company, even, you know, the people, employers as well, they are going to look for a credit score, or when you're renting or you're buying a house or something, if you lived in US, you have to let them know your social security number, and some people are willing to take a look into it. They do have that system. Majority of the bank, majority of the people, they actually do that as well. I personally work in the banking world for more than 13 years, and I know that in a mortgage department, in a loan department, I know that whenever people said that to my employee, then there would be notes, and we'll forward it to the underwriter with the social security number and the date of birth and the address in US, and they can certainly pull that out. And it's totally up to the bank whether they want to go forward or not. So Sudhir says, hi, Sweta and ACCES Employment. Thanks a lot for your valuable session and very good input. Thank you. Have two questions. Give us brief on summary how Teach-N-Do is helping people get jobs in bank, government, private, and other sectors. In COVID-19 situation, how are your clients being placed in opportunities? Are you suggesting any change or review of opportunities or situation? Please give us some insights. Now, again, we're not a placement agency. We don't recruit at all. What we do, like, you know, we teach people how do you go about targeting the right people to get that attention. We do LinkedIn profile optimization to make sure that when they're searching for people like you, you are on the top, right? Like, you know, we teach you the strategies, we teach you how to write the resume and customize it, all those things. But again, because we are from the banking world, from the corporate world, we do have our internal network. So my friends are hiring someone, then, you know, if I see potential or our consultant sees the potential, then we'll just say, hey, we have a person who might be great fit for you. Do you want to take a look at it? But there's no way they will guarantee and pick you. But because we have a reputation already, they might be able to, you know, go and hire you as well. So we have referred tons of people, right? So that's the way that we give it back to the community if you work with us. And we do that for free if you sign up with us. So Benita says, how to carry out volunteering services? Honestly, you just have to go and ask. Even ACCES, I know they have a lot of amazing program. They offer coffee chat as well, right? You can probably, if you're really good at presenting or speaking, you know, publicly, you can definitely run the coffee chat or something within these organizations, like your everything, right? So you're just building a network instead of sitting home. Ideally, you're trying to build a network in any way, and you meet a lot of professional people. So slide was not visible. That's what you're saying, but it's uploaded in YouTube. Teach-N-Do, Teach-N-Do. It's just been uploaded. You can go ahead and look into it if you want more detail on it. Could you please show me the networking sample slide again? You can go and see on a YouTube. It's also on a teachanddo.com. Go under blog section, guys. There are like so many things, like, you know, the sites for, newcomers and the job site and people who are offering the bridging program, free stuff. It's all in there. You can take a look at it. Even it's broken down to job siting based on the industry as well. So take a look at it. Those are all free tutorial. There's like, how do you do the LinkedIn profile? How do you make up your own resume with the Canadian style? These are all on our teachanddo.com blogs in there. Johar says, myself, Johar here. Can I start using my credit card? Got it during soft landing, even before permanently moving to build credit history. Well, why not? I would think so, right? You have a credit card. If you already have it, then, you know, that's why you're going to be building it up, right? Make sure you pay in time. So if you don't use a credit card, your credit score is not going to be built up. You have to use it actively. There's no point of applying and sitting on it. Is there a policy as regards to type of apartment or family with kids can rent? Not really, but I know that there's a limit on it. How many people, because of the safety, housing safety, make sure that you're well protected. There's like a limit on it, right? So only certain people, if you are more than 2 or 3 people, you're gonna have to have 2-bedroom apartment or 3-bedroom apartment. Like, you know, it depends on the head count as well. There's a rule on it. You can go Google it and then possibly you can find out. Or rental people, they will actually tell you as well. When you sign up, they will say, well, you need 2-bedroom because you have like these many kids or these many head counts, right? Because they are liable. If something happens, they're liable as well. They don't want to be sued. Oh, the transfer. Shaheen says transfer, please. So these are the things like when you, so basically, can you tell a little bit about transfer, please, meaning using public transportation? I don't use the public transportation, but I know there's been, let's say if you're taking public transport for like, transport, but there's, let's say you're changing the route. So, you have to take 2 buses, then, instead of paying, so there's like cost for it, right? When you change twice, then you have to pay twice, right? On the bus, right? So the way that you would say, if it depends on the route as well. So as soon as you hop on the bus, you would just ask a driver, when you pay for it, transfer please, and they will give you the ticket. So it would be stamped, and that ticket, when you get down from that bus and hop into the different bus, as long as it's a same kind of route, then you can show to the other bus drivers, like just that ticket, and then put it in there. That's it. So you're not basically double paying, right? So that's why it's called transfer, transfer please. When you have to say it right away. The reason being is because it's time stamped, and drivers can be really mad if you say it at the end, right? They're potentially not going to give you that ticket. So Mohammed says, within the last couple of months, I have completed a background assessment at a few banks. Afterwards, I have not received any feedback. Can you explain why? I don't know. Maybe the interview didn't go well, or maybe the references checked. And again, like it has happened to some of my clients as well. They were like great candidate. They applied for banking, and then because they recently landed, most of the bank, they check the credit score, and the credit score was not even there, right? And that's the biggest hurdle for immigrant who wanted to go to a certain industry. They have to have a score, and bank, it's a huge risk for bank. And I was a hiring manager in banking world, and I used to have amazing candidate, but I couldn't hire at the background reference check. It was a problem because people will not have the credit, or someone would have a back credit already because they did not know how to use the credit card, right? So that's why it's really, really important for you to build a credit if you want to go into the specific industry. Without that, you're never going to pass the references. So I would follow up if I were you, just to follow up and find out like what's going on. Do you have any update on it, right? Majority of the people, they don't follow up after the interview. So you should follow up and find out. Kuram Khan says, how important is to buy a car immediately after landing in Canada? It might take a while till I get a job. Should I immediately buy one of my saving, or wait till I get a job? I'm planning for Ontario. Honestly, who am I to tell you, right? Because I don't know your situation. So again, it depends on what exactly you want, right? Like, totally on your situation. So pros is, here's the pros, like, you should probably buy a car if you wanted to get into that driver's license and build your experience, and then move on to the G license, because later, if you're a new driver, your insurance costs is going to be very high. And then, it depends on the age as well, right? So if you're new and very young, then probably your insurance costs can be very, very high. So either you pay right now, or you have to pay it later on, right? So it depends. Some people, what they also do is, if they know someone, like, within the household, they are put through as a casual driver as well. So that way you're kind of like on insurance as well. So that way, like, your insurance is being built up as well, but that's not totally guaranteed, because some companies do not like the casual driver either. So you can ask the other people who are offering the insurance and find out and compare the quotes, and see what's beneficial for you. Can you afford it, right? Or do you have to buy a car? Because when you buy a car, there comes the expenses, right? But at the same time, if you're living somewhere where you're close by in public transit area, then probably it's not a good idea to buy a car. But if you live so far and you are traveling all the time with the interview, and you have to work all the time, like, there's no public transportation available, then I would probably buy a car. It depends on what you want. Rejoice, I am not an immigration expert. Our team doesn't touch any immigration at all. As I said, you know, immigration people are those in Canada. They need to be licensed, and we can't provide you any information at all. So you can visit teachanddo.com for services that we provide, and it clearly outlines what we do. Sweta says, hello, could you please provide some information on buying a house or car for the first time? What are the requirements for newcomer? Honestly, it's a credit check. And if you don't have it, you can probably add some guarantor, a family member, a close family member. Some guarantors are, let's say, whenever you're making someone a guarantor, there's an arm length or non-arm length, meaning like, you know, close family member are normally the arm length one, are considered as a guarantor. But some banks, some companies, they don't like anyone else other than family member, blood relative as a guarantor as well. So there's a rule in the place, right? So it's definitely credit. It's definitely how much deposit you want to bring it down, and obviously your income as well. So are you bringing enough money to cover that expenses as well? So, and there are brokers out there, they actually are quite lenient on it. You might want to look into it, but at the same time, be very cautious about the scams and fraud going on as well for newcomer. Know your stuff before you sign up for anything at all. So Binsi says, how do you target companies? Again, you just go, you know, find out who or what is it that you want to do. So identify a niche, and if you're on LinkedIn, you should be on LinkedIn. Everybody should be on a LinkedIn, no matter what, if you're a job seeker, because 99% of the employers in Canada, they are going through the LinkedIn profile. These days is if you do not have a digital footprint, then it's seen as weaknesses, okay, guys? So be visible out there, right? So target the company, follow their social media page, get to know the people inside the team. There's tons of strategy that we teach from Teach and Do, and I have had clients who's landed multiple offers within 20 days of landing, right? And she literally moved last she worked for 7 months in the company. She was approached by a recruiter all the time. And then, you know, she negotiated when she reached out to me saying, should I jump in? I'm like, go for it, right? So she negotiated the salary, and then salary bump was 24% higher than what she was making before. But she was recently landed. She literally landed in Canada 7 months ago. But then at the same time, she got the offer within 20 days, guys, multiple offers, right? So like, you know, it's a strategy that matters. Like Canadian experience is a myth if you know how to work around with the resume and strategies. So you got to target the company and the decision maker. Sonia, how long do we have? I'm just going to take a couple.
Yeah, Shweta, we've actually gone over time, so it's okay. If you can stop now if you want.
Okay, I can stop now then.
Okay, perfect. So thank you everyone for joining. Shweta's graciously actually gone over the time. I really appreciate that, Shweta. And if you guys have any questions, you have all the information in front of you. You can follow Shweta on LinkedIn or subscribe to her YouTube channel. She's got tons of great videos, and honestly, the webinar that was done today, there's so much detail in there that people miss. So I'm really glad that people were able to get that information today from you. Thank you, Shweta.
You're welcome. I can just add one thing. If you guys are, I'm maxed out on LinkedIn connections, but if you're landing in Canada soon, if you've landed, I'm just taking those people as a priority on LinkedIn right now. Please send me personalized invite, guys. Otherwise, it would all be like sitting on the pending. Please do me a favor and then tell me like where exactly you need help. If you're just looking at the content, be sure to follow me. There's no reason to connect, but if you feel like you need some help and I can guide you from Teach and Do, feel free to send me personalized invite. I'm only accepting people who are going to be landing in Canada soon or who've landed and they're struggling with the job search strategy. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I got to go, but this is a great opportunity. Hopefully you've learned something today. And, you know, if you have any questions, reach out to me in LinkedIn, okay?